Good afternoon. I'm Lori Matson. I'm President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber, and it's really a pleasure to welcome you to our reopening Washington membership luncheon sponsored by Veolia. To say we are thrilled to be here with you in person is an understatement. This is the first in-person event we've had since February of 2020. It's been 15 months. And to see all the excitement you all have, I know you're about as excited as we are as well. How many of you are wearing slippers, yoga pants? Are there dogs under the tables? Is there anybody, we had to do the back of our hair. All these things we haven't had to do in a while. So it's good to see you. I have shoes and regular pants on, and my poor puppy was really unhappy when I left the house today. So we really pride ourselves on the high quality events that the Chamber does, but we might be a little rusty after not doing this live for a while. So please bear with us as we get back into the swing of things. I'm sure our team's going to do phenomenal though. So it's very fitting that the theme of our first post-COVID in-person event is about reopening. The challenges of 2020 were almost unbelievable, and it's really difficult to predict how 2021 will fare. Like many businesses and many of you, making it through a worldwide pandemic has been both a challenge and an opportunity for the Tri-City Regional Chamber, requiring a great deal of out-of-the-box thinking. At the Chamber, we spent the last 15 months reevaluating, adapting, retooling, and establishing our new normal. Not the way we used to be, but the way we should be. COVID-19 has not only changed how we do business, but it's determining what businesses will survive and ultimately grow beyond the pandemic. The Chamber is here to help our members and the community as we fulfill our role as a catalyst for business growth, convener for leaders, and a champion for a strong community. I'm really excited to get the chance to see our guest speaker in person today, although we got to have dinner together last night, but it was the first time I've seen Kris since February of 2020. So we had a great time catching up. Many of you know Kris as the first president and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber. You'll hear more about him, but he led our merger many years ago. Currently, Kris is the president and CEO of the Association of Washington Business, and he's here today to talk about a path forward on reopening the state, challenges on the horizon, and how the business community is addressing those challenges. So Kris, thanks for being here today. Throughout the pandemic, we've been fortunate to have such a great partner in AWB. So I just want to list a few things. I'm sure he'll talk about them in more detail, but in February, we teamed up with AWB, CBC, and WSU Tri-Cities as a pilot site for the Washington Workforce Portal. The Workforce Portal is a statewide platform that serves to connect students across Washington with Washington. To use the portal, it's completely free for both businesses and students, and we urge you to check it out at washingtonworkforceportal.org. Then just recently, AWB and the Department of Commerce administered a grant program to deliver $2.2 million in COVID relief funds to chambers across the state. That money provided financial assistance to over 100 chambers, including us. So we really appreciate their help in providing critical resources to supplement the lost revenue due to the pandemic. And then finally, hopefully you've heard about this, the Chamber is currently participating in AWB's Give Business a Shot in the Arm vaccine incentive program. We received $100,000 in Visa gift cards, and through June 30th, and anyone who gets a vaccine at the CBC vaccination site will get a $50 Visa gift card, and we hope that people will spend it locally at a local business. So thanks to AWB and the Department of Commerce for including us in their program, and also a special thanks to Benton Franklin Health Department for distributing those cards. So on with our program, we have several elected officials that are here today, and we want to recognize them. If we recognize them, right? Have we seen them in 15 months? I saw one of them, Matt Binke. I was parked right next to you. So please stand up, Washington State Rep. Matt Binke. We also have, thanks Matt, it's good to see you. We also have Benton County Commissioner Will McKay here. Will, if you'd please stand up. Hi, Will. Port of Benton Commissioners Jane Haggerty and Roy Keck. I saw both of you. And Port of Pasco Commissioner Jim Kleinworth. Thanks, Jim. It's good to see you. And hopefully we haven't missed anybody, but if I missed you on the list, please stand so we can recognize you as well. All right, now if you could all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you. You may have a seat. Next, I'd like to invite Elizabeth Holt to the stage to announce our Outstanding Member of the Month, as well as introducing some of our newest members. Elizabeth.
Thanks, Lori. But before I begin, man, it's been a long time since I've been up here. I would just like to recognize some of our team that has worked really hard over the past year. They really like to be recognized too. So Austin and Logan, Liz, we were on Zoom for a year this month. Obviously, Lori and Shay as well, having to adjust to the new way and now having to relearn back. So I just wanted to say thank you. And if we could give them a round of applause. So for the first time in over a year, I get to announce some of our newest members. So thanks for investing in the chamber. And if I call your name, please join us over here and Lori will give you your membership plaque and then we'll pose for a group photo. So first we have Mario Garriga with Alliance Women's Health. We have Jennifer Cunnington with Movement Mortgage. Benjamin Beckett with Royal Roofing. Landon and Valerie Lawson with Axe Keeper Axe Throwing. Shawnee Fitzgerald with Salon Remedy. Edison Valerio with the Edison Valerio Agency. And last but not least, we have Dave Kobus with our brand new director level membership, Scout Clean Energy. So thank you all for your investment in the Regional Chamber. We look forward to working with all of you and thank you for investing over this last year or so. Next, we would like to recognize some of the Chamber's longest standing members. If you could please draw your attention to the screen, the members listed have been involved with the Regional Chamber for 20 years or longer. If we could give them a round of applause too, please. Last, it's my pleasure to announce the June Member of the Month. Over the past year, the Chamber's Awards and Recognition Committee has recognized businesses and organizations that have positively impacted our community during this trying time. I'm pleased to announce the committee has chosen Friends of Badger Mountain as the June Member of the Month. The Friends of Badger Mountain Group is an all-volunteer organization that was founded in 2003 and has been an active member of the Regional Chamber for many years. The group has preserved over 900 acres and built and maintained 10 miles of trails. As many of you know or have experienced yourself, the trails that the group worked to build and maintain were able to remain a bright spot during the pandemic where people could get out and be active. In fact, over 300,000 users were counted during that time. The group is now under a current campaign to raise money to create the third reserve, Little Badger Mountain Preserve. They are also working on an exciting new development, Red Mountain Trail Vineyard, as partnership with Red Mountain AVA, the first vineyard trail in the US. So please help me welcome some of the fantastic volunteers, Sharon Grant, Dave Beach, and Peter Smith to the stage and help me celebrate Friends of Badger Mountain as the June Member of the Month.
Thanks. Yes. Great round of applause. Thanks for all the great work you do and welcome to all of our new members and thanks Elizabeth and team. So sponsoring today's luncheon is Veolia, and here today from Veolia is Sue Kahn. She's the Vice President of Facility Operations and Services. Welcome, Sue.
Wow, it seems odd to look around and see everybody's faces. So welcome to the Regional Chamber's Reopening Washington Luncheon. It is good to see everyone today. It's been, as I said, a long time. Veolia is honored to sponsor this event, which allows us to reconnect after being away from each other for so long. VNSFS is a company that was formed to deliver Veolia's extensive capabilities to the U.S. waste and nuclear industry. Instead of me talking about it today, we've assembled a short video to illustrate some of our capabilities. Thank you for your attention and enjoy your lunch.
Thank you, Sue, and thanks, Viola, for sponsoring our luncheon today. I'm going to bring Shay. Well, come on up here, Shay. We also, she needs no introduction, but our board chair in person, Shay Frechette from Frechette Winery, is going to take it over. Come on over here. We haven't seen each other for a long time in person either, so it's really fun I see you all the time on Zoom, but it's good to see you in person. Before I leave, though, I want to remind everybody that our office is opening a week from today. So our staff will begin migrating back into the office, and we look forward to seeing you in the building and getting back to whatever it is we're all going to get back to. So please drop by and visit us, and we look forward to seeing you. And Shay, take it over.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks everybody for being here. Okay, so raise your hand if this is the first time you've been in a ballroom having lunch in a year. Yes. So this is history. I know you've mastered the selfie over the past year. So let's pull those phones out. Let's do it. That's all we've had, phones and screens, right? So pull your phone out, and this is your chance to mark this historic event of the first time you've coming back to have lunch in a ballroom. So take a picture of yourself. I know some of you, look at the folks who are mastering this selfie thing. I tell you, this table right here. Oh, is that Joe? Joe's mastered the selfie. So if you happen to post this on Instagram or Facebook, make sure you hashtag TCRCC, the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. But are you as excited as I am to be back in person? Oh my gosh, yes. So many amazing faces I haven't seen in person in so long. So if I happen to get emotional and cry, please excuse me, because I'm just way too excited. And thank you to the folks who are joining us online too. So I have to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker, which he needs no introduction, but Kris, I have one for you. Kris Johnson joined the Association of Washington Business in 2010, but prior to joining AWB, Kris was president of the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. And during his time there, he led a comprehensive rebranding effort of the chamber and played a key role during the Republican National Convention. And that was held in the Twin Cities in the fall of 2018. But here's the part that's so cool. Before leading the efforts of the St. Paul Area Chamber, as Lori mentioned earlier, Kris served as president and CEO of our organization, the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. Yes! So it's so cool to have him back here. In fact, his leadership guided the merger of the Tri-City Area Chamber and the Richland Chamber of Commerce to form the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. Man, Kris, what do you think now? Yes! Kris is a graduate of the University of Montana Western and the U.S. Chamber Institute program. He and his wife, Katie, and their 3 children are residents of Olympia. So we are very excited to have him here in the Tri-Cities, and we definitely want to show him the love. So if you're joining us online, you can type in "Go Kris." And if you're here today, put your hands together and help us show some love and welcome Kris Johnson.
Raising money. All right.
Should I be?
You should be raising money. Absolutely. Well, good afternoon, everyone. No, we've not been home for 15 months to say good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. How excited are you to be here? It's been 15 months since many of us sat in a ballroom like this to have lunch. And I was sharing at my table. So think about this. When was the last time you were at an event like this, sitting across from people you know, people you don't know? Just think about when that was. And then think about how the world has changed since we last did that, right? When this all started happening, I'm getting way out of order. I'll use the PowerPoint here in a minute. Sorry, I'm getting there. We didn't know what COVID was really going to be. We didn't know how long it would last. I think many of us, including me, thought, oh, maybe this is a 4 or 5 month thing. We'll be back doing what we normally did. And to think that we're here 15 months later, getting back to doing business, it's pretty cool and pretty special. But I'm out of routine because I didn't bring my iPhone charging card last night, charging cord over here. So my phone's halfway dead. I don't have a business card on me, and my suit pants fit. So that's all really good stuff there along the way. So I wanted to see the hands go up. How many for you, this is your first in-person event in 15 months? Raise your hand. Wow. Wow, it's great to see everybody here. This is going to have a lot of interaction for you. And if you raise your hand and answer it, who likes coffee? Raise your hand if you like coffee. Raise your hand if you like someone else to buy you coffee. Raise your hand if you want a free Starbucks gift card. Okay, then you'll answer the questions because I have a whole bunch of Starbucks gift cards here today. Representative Banky's in the room. I got to find Matt. Okay, Representative Banky cannot answer some of the questions that are coming up here today. He'll know them all anyways. So let me fast forward. When was this date? There's a gift card for the person that can tell me when this went into place. Yes. January 15th, close. I heard the right month over here. March. Who said 23rd just now? Come on up. $10 Starbucks gift card for you. Congratulations. March 23rd. How many days ago was that, by the way? How many days ago when the stay home, we all went home order went into place? Any guess? I'll do another gift card. Somebody gets the right number. Well, that's close, but it's over. Any guesses? How long it's been since this went into place? And as we think about reopening, we're celebrating this ending. No. Who said you're close at 450? Come up here. It's 457. 457 days ago, that order went into place. 450. That means we have all had a birthday. We've all had an anniversary. You won $10. Thank you. I'll take an iced mocha too because it's hot. 457 days ago is when that order went into place. What is this? Lori Matson cannot answer this. What event is it? When? Are you sure? PGA Championship. The PGA Championship is correct. You'll get a gift card. But when? Are you sure? When you look at you're right. You're gonna get you're both right. So what do you not see when you look at that picture? You don't see mass. That is the PGA Championship on May 23rd, 2021, 427 days after the stay safe, stay order went into place. Good job. All right. Next one. What's this? This, to set the stage, this is the world's largest sporting activity since COVID hit. NASCAR is incorrect. You're close, but NASCAR, it's the Indianapolis 500. Jason got it? Jason, come up. I got a gift card for you. How many people were there? If this was the world's largest gathering of people since COVID's hit, how many people were there? 110's close, but not correct. 135,000 people were at the Indianapolis 500. This picture is taken from a helmet cam of a driver going around. So think about that period of time to just last week. All right. And starting tomorrow, the Seattle Mariners will sell every seat in every location, and we'll be back to normal to watch our Seattle Mariners play ball. Every seat will be open. What's really cool about what they've done, in addition to helping us all get back to enjoying outdoor activities, is the role they've played in vaccinations. They have had a vaccination incentive program going on where they have vaccinated more people than even I thought, just out of convenience, by saying, I happen to be at a ball game. If you get a vaccine shot, you'll get a free hot dog and a free beer. How many people do you think they vaccinated with that? Well, that's a different question. 1,000 people. So think about this. I just happened to be somewhere. Like I came into today's Tri-City Chamber lunch and, oh, I'm not vaccinated. There's a free vaccine shot here and I'll get a free lunch along the way. Seattle Mariners vaccinated 1,000 people through their program by just people attending a baseball game and getting their shot and helping us get to reopening, because it is the most important thing that we can do as we beat this virus. And then this. So we've talked about national events. We talked about the Mariners playing ball. Tri-Cities is going to get back to gathering as well. That's right. Just next month, local community events across the state are going to start happening again. So whether it's the Hydro Follies, whether it's the boats will not make it to Lake Washington, unfortunately, this summer, but they will start here. We will return to in-person events across the state of Washington. But before that, we'll get a chance to celebrate this. Every community across the state is racing right now to talk about bringing back together community events for us all to gather in outdoor settings, just like we're doing here today, and celebrate the last 15 months, and get back to doing what we used to do, which was gathering. What an amazing 457 days it's been from there to now. But how did we get there? Well, a lot of ways. Let me start with here, what you as employers did early on. How many people are so tired of hearing the word pivot? Because we've used pivot, like we had to pivot this event to do that. We had to pivot that meeting to do this. We had to pivot this to go there. Pivot is the most, I think, overused word that we've used, but it's exactly what we had to do. Our world changed last March, and we pivoted in how we operate, how our employees are connected, how we do our work, how we gather, not in person, but online, and come together. We asked companies, and there's somebody hold up their hand sanitizer on the table. We asked manufacturers in the state to help us all get through COVID by stop making what they're making to make much needed PPE. And at the time, we had 3 crises that we needed PPE in. What were they? Masks is one. Actually, gowns is another, but it wasn't the one I'm going with. There's a great example in Yakima, Washington on that, by the way. Not that was the original early crisis, not what we had folks pivot to make. Gloves, who said gloves? That's correct. Hand sanitizer, both in the liquid form and in the white form. Those are what the 3 things we really needed a lot of. And there are so many examples of distilleries and all across the state that stopped making this and put hand sanitizer into bottles just like this to help all of us get through that period of time. Supply chain disruptions. How many people are in the manufacturing space or rely upon a supplier to make their business work? Just raise your hand. Your supply chains have been interrupted by and large throughout this whole period of time. In fact, they're not back yet to this day. Or we started to get to summer and think, oh, we might be near the end of this. And so we started a rebound and recovery task force that brought together 28 leaders from 21 different sectors of the economy to say, how do we get through this? This is when we were still at the stay home, stay safe order. How do we bring employees back to work? How do we reopen? What type of signage do we need? How do I access made in Washington PPE? So we talked about how companies pivoted here. We had 5,000 companies in this state go to the Rebound and Recovery website to buy made in your community PPE. So think about that for a moment. You had a chance to, if you were here in the Tri-Cities, to say, I need masks. And we had 180 different vendors from across the state that were making made in Washington PPE for Washingtonians. We did that to help us all come back to work. We did it to protect our employees along the way. And we have a number of people that were deeply involved with that, including someone like Steve Simmons. Steve, wave your hand here. I'm going to come back and talk about Steve here in a few minutes. But Lori and the chamber stepped up and stepped up big. We talked about rebound and recovery. We had to talk about the role that masks played in us getting back to reopening and bringing people back to school. By the way, how many people have a person that was impacted because of no childcare and no kids in school, and so therefore their workforce was disrupted? Raise your hands if that's you. About a good third of the room here along the way. It's the number one thing we hear from employers right now, why their employees can't return is they don't have childcare or the kids aren't in school. Number one. Hi, Steve McFadden. How are you? Welcome to the Port of Pasco, Steve. We did mass campaigns, and then Lori just talked about the role of the vaccination programs that we're doing. To think that we've distributed $1 million to communities across the state of Washington to help us all get to celebrating reopening is pretty impressive. And then Shay did something that I'm going to do. So I'm going to set the stage here as I kind of go through some of these. As you connect to one of them, I want you to stand up for a moment, because the Tri-City Chamber has a great tradition of taking a group picture at its annual meeting, right, Lori? So if you adopted remote work at your company, stand up. You adopted remote work. If you avoided layoffs during this period of time, stand up. If you worked with your employees to have a flexible working environment, stand up. If you pivoted, if you were a manufacturer and you pivoted to make PPE, stand up. If you retooled the way you do business to meet the customer demands in COVID period of time, please stand up. If you're part of encouraging employees to wear facial coverings or get vaccinated and help us get to reopening, stand up. If you help make a difference in your community, like food banks and having learning supplies for kids and all, stand up. If you're one of the companies that were growing and expanding during COVID period of times, there were a number of companies that did that along the way. You did it. This is how we got to today. These are all examples of parts of the system coming together to get us through that. Did you get a picture, Stephanie? Okay, perfect. I'll use it later on. So thank you. That's how we got here. We had to do things we didn't want to do. We had to do things we've never had to do before. But all of those things combined together gets us to that point in period of time. And when I think about what helped us do that, it's about leadership. When I think about civic local leaders, Lori's got a great board of directors, including a very energetic chairman who does a great job up here, helping guide the organization. For us, our chairman during COVID was Fran Frigette. And our next chair, our current chair is from Tacoma, and then the next chair is Paula Linden from the National Labs. So we have two great Tri-Citians who've done great work for AWB over in Olympia. And we have a number of key leaders who've stepped up in our rebound and recovery task forces that are helping us access the funding sources for PPE. So that when you called and said, I need help, we knew where to send you to along the way as well. And so let's give everybody a round of applause for helping us get to where we are today. But we have challenges. So that was the optimistic side. Here's some challenges as we go forward. On the good news side, we have a strong economy that's happening at the very top level. Strong Washington economy and strong national economy. We've seen unemployment go pre-COVID around 4.1% in the state. Anybody know where we topped out at? And if you're the labor economist, you can't answer this question. Or Matt Banky, you can't answer this. Well, where did we peak at our height? May of last year. 10, 13, higher. Who said 16? Come up here. I'll give you 15.9%. Here's the question, though. If someone knows this, what county had the highest unemployment rate during COVID? Who said King? No one ever says King County right at the beginning. King County. Along the way, we've seen personal household income savings at an all-time record high. Do you know how much we as the U.S. saved during COVID? Nearly $1 trillion has been saved because you didn't have a way to spend it in this period of time. You weren't traveling, you weren't buying things, significant savings. Travel is rebounding. We've gone from not being able to go anywhere to the airplanes are completely full. We're back and we're traveling again, right? Try to go to a restaurant. They're full again. What are we doing? We're back together and gathering. We've seen $11 billion of federal stimulus money come into Washington state alone. So significant resources to make this away. So here's the challenge front in that regard. How many people have seen help wanted signs up as they go through their average everyday life? We knew workforce was a challenge going into the pandemic. It remains one of the top challenges of not being able to find workers, and they will play an important role in getting us through this very difficult time. This pandemic also was different than the one we experienced in 1917. In fact, we're 115 years old, so we happened to go back and look at our board minutes. Did I tell you this last night? And in our minutes, it would say who was not alive from the last board meeting to the next meeting. It didn't say why they died. It didn't say that they died during the 1917 pandemic because of the pandemic, just that they weren't around in 1917. But that pandemic impacted every sector of the economy, every community, and shut it down. This was different. Everyone kind of pulled down in March and April, and then some started to rebound really fast coming out of it. But there are three sectors that I think really, really struggled that the data shows us. Anybody have a guess of the three sectors that struggled? Yes, ma'am. Travel and tourism, hospitality, healthcare, one more, leisure, just leisure activities, destination facilities. So I think of someone like I think of somebody like Steve Simmons, and to think about pivoting and retooling if you're in the restaurant business during the pandemic. And I remember calling Steve asking how tough it was, and he's like, it's a challenge. Or to think how great is it to be in a building like this and see we've got banquet staff that are here and able to be a part of this piece. So let's give all of those sectors who probably had the worst 12 months of their life ever a big round of appreciation. And Benton and Franklin County were 2 of 5 counties that were the last to do what when we first went through the 4-phase strategy? Go to phase 2. So we talked about sectors of the economy. There's some regions, right, that had a very hard time. 10 months, I think, in phase 1 or close to along the way. This is the #1 issue. And the Tri-City Herald runs a story about Denny's hiring right here in town, about having a challenge finding frontline workers to come to work there. I actually took the 2 pictures of the 2 left signs that are on the top. And one of it was at an Ace Hardware store who said he'd never put up a help wanted sign in his 30 years of doing business. And that's how critical the frontline piece is. But it's also, if you're a manufacturing company, a challenge on the top line, that there's needs for skilled, trained, educated workers at entry level, mid-level, and senior management as well. This is not going away at all. And then as we think about supply chain disruptions here along the way, how many bought a bicycle or piece of exercise equipment in the pandemic? Well, okay, lots of us. How many are still using it, by the way? Okay, I think mine's holding a piece of holding a sweatshirt up at home along the way. How many added onto their house, remodeled the deck, did some homework, home improvements along the way? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's where we spent a lot of money at along the way. So what happened to lumber prices? So there's a great picture out there that shows lumber, $1,000 of lumber pre-pandemic, and it's a cart like that wide and about this full. And then it shows what $1,000 worth of lumber gets you this week, and it's like, I'm joking here, 4 2x4s across the cart here along the way. How about used car prices? How about finding a car in general? Because of the wafer sector being hit, the computer chips that we all rely upon to drive our cars, there's a shortage in them. And so that's why you're seeing 30% increases on average for used car prices alone. And if there's one thing you take away from this presentation today is look at this slide and realize that you have a new tax coming to you, to every working employee in the state of Washington. It is a 0.58% payroll tax that will take effect this next year that the legislature passed for what's called long-term care. And you have a very narrow window as employees not to participate in the state program, but to find it somewhere else. You have until October 1 to be out of where you're at, and you have till November 1st to have coverage somewhere else along the way. This is the #1 phone call we're getting right now is, what is this long-term care thing is? How much does it hit me? What are my options? Where can I go? To talk about the disruption in the marketplace, Representative Banky, I'll tell you there's 3 insurance companies no longer offering long-term care as of last week in the state of Washington because of this huge influx and challenge that we have here. We need a better solution than what we have here. This is a very challenging bill. It's going to impact every single one of us in this room. So if you want to know more information, on June 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning, we will have a webinar that has close to 1,000 people already registered. We just want to learn, what is it? When does it hit me? And what can I do about it? So again, June 29th at 10 o'clock. Here's some other challenges, both state and federal. State legislature passed the capital gains tax this last session. It's now tied up in court. For some, they view it's the pathway to an income tax in the state. How many people know that we have voted? How many times do you think we've voted on an income tax in the state? 7 times. How many times has it passed? Okay, so 7 times, 0, and I think the numbers get wider every time we go along the way. But a capital gains tax passed this last session. There's also a group called the Tax Structure Working Group that are looking at the tax structure of the state and are set to come up, is it Matt, maybe January 23 with a proposal of what a new tax structure might possibly look like in this state. So if taxes matter to you, you pay attention to those, you'll want to follow this closely. Representative Banky is paying close attention to it, as is every member of the legislature. We also saw a low carbon fuel standard bill pass this last session that has the potential to raise the price of gas up to 57 cents a gallon over the next 20 years along the way as well. And then on the defensive side, there's an effort to take natural gas out of our homes again. And that's passing over in Western Washington, where natural gas is no longer a clean bridge fuel source viewed by some group. And so now we're going to take natural gas out of commercial environments and then eventually residential environments, or possibly. Snake River dams. How important are the Columbia Snake River dams to Washington State? Very important. Would anybody be surprised here if we have the cleanest energy system in the state of any state in the country because of hydro? No. So we've got to pay close attention to that. We have two silver bullets in this state for economic development: low-cost energy and people. So why is low-cost energy so important to us? Because look at the manufacturing sector from here up to Moses Lake to Yakima throughout Washington State that exists today because of low-cost, affordable energy. It has been our silver bullet for economic development. But there's also some opportunities that lie ahead of us in new energy, such as small modular reactor, alternative energy, smart grid and all. And where is all of that happening in the whole country? Where is that conversation centered at right now? Right here. We have an opportunity to really be the future of energy here, in addition to preserving what we have, but right here in the Tri-Cities, not in the state, but right here in the Tri-Cities. Two important tools: low-cost power and people. So, speaking of people, let's talk about something that Lori shared early on. So we knew workforce development was a challenge going into the pandemic, primarily driven because of what? Baby boomers retiring. Remember that every day, 10,000 people turn 60 a day in this country right now. And roughly about 5,000 people a day retire. So we already had a top-line talent issue going into the pandemic. And then you see the challenges on frontline of all the help wanted science, and we are in a race for talent. And if the old economic development model was, so I'll do it this way. How many people went to a school differently than where they lived at home at? Raise your hand. So you left your hometown to go to school. And then you went somewhere besides that hometown or school to get a job. Raise your hand. That was the old economic development model. We would go to where that work was. That's been shifted on its head. And now companies are going to where people are at. And if you think, is that true or not? Let's look at the tech sector in the city of Seattle. How many tech jobs exist in the city, in what I call central Seattle? Any guess? North of 100,000 jobs. Do you know what the average pay is for a tech job? North of $150,000 a year. Every single company, including Sears that's on life support, has an R&D center in Seattle for technology jobs. So we are choosing sense of place. We're choosing where we want to live first and jobs second. We've got to figure out our solution on workforce development. So as we think about that as a state, every region should have the same chance of equal opportunity as we rebuild our economy. And if we think about what's changed in the Tri-Cities in the last 20 years when it comes to education, I know I can think of a couple things. I'm curious to see what's changed in the landscape in Tri-Cities in the last 20 years. CBC offers 4-year degrees. Delta High. WSU is a 4-year university now, right? Here along the way. We have the ecosystem elements to have a strong dynamic economy around skilled, educated workforce. We also know that 70% of all jobs by 2025 will require some post-K-12 experience, whether it's a certificate, a 2-year degree, an apprenticeship program, a youth apprenticeship program. They will require some types of hands-on experience. So we said, geez, hey, as employers, what could we do that makes a really big difference and moves the needle in this regard and helps every community in the state of Washington find that skilled trained workforce? So we came up with the Washington Workforce Portal that we are piloting in Spokane and here in the Tri-Cities. And I've got to tell you that we've had just a great case study here in the Tri-Cities. It's about the 4-year university collaborating with the 2-year university around a workforce portal. It's that those two collaborate and then fund a position that's embedded at the Tri-City Chamber that's working with all of you as employers in this room to say, hey, Tell us about the internships you might have. Let's get them loaded in this portal. And we've, in essence, created a, I don't know what the new thing, Tinder, matchmaking. We've created a one-stop destination center where you can go find internships. And if you go on there today, you will see 300 plus student profiles already that are on this workforce portal, along with 40 plus different companies who are listing internships already that are in there. And we're going in our first summer season. So if you're someone who happens to know somebody and give an internship, great. But you might be a first to college student and don't know who to call to get an internship. We've given everyone the same opportunity to get an internship in their desired field through this workforce portal at washingtonworkforceportal.org. And you can be a 2-year student, you can be a certificate student, you can be a 4-year public student, and you can be a 4-year private student. All of that is happening. So phenomenal collaboration there. And it complements another thing that we do with PNNL, which is our teacher externship program, where every summer we take teachers out of the classroom and say, let's have you go look at the jobs of tomorrow. So that when you go back to the classroom, you can talk about why is STEM really important? Why is finishing really important? And these are the types of skills and experiences that you need to have to be ready to enter the workforce here. And I know that Sandra Haynes is listening back home. I want to just thank Sandra and Rebecca because they've been great partners every step in this journey. I want to thank Lori, but the real unsung hero is Brooke. So Brooke, wave back there. If you are interested in an internship, hosting an intern, want to get involved, give it up for Brooke. She's in charge of it. So Brooke's done an amazing job with this workforce portal. So thank you, Brooke, for your leadership. Thank you to Lori and the Chamber for what you're doing. And give WSU and CBC a big round of applause for all their hard work on making this happen. And I had a chance, I told Fran this, to go see the new WSU, I think it's called the Collaboration Building this morning. It's really cool. And to think about what that campus looks like today, 20 years from what it looked like 20 years ago, is pretty cool. But it will not only be exciting for Sandra to welcome students back this fall, she has a couple new facilities that she brings on as well. Let me talk about a really exciting thing, and that is manufacturing. Manufacturing has the biggest multiplier and biggest impact in communities across the state of Washington of any sector. There are 300,000 men and women every day who wake up in this state to go to work to build something in the state of Washington. They get a great wage. I'm curious if someone knows how many manufacturers are right here in the Tri-Cities. Any guess? How many companies? 20, 70, keep going. 100, keep going. Who said 250? Steve McFadden, come on up. Steve McFadden's right. 250 companies, manufacturing companies exist here. How many men and women right here in the Tri-Cities work? Congratulations, my friend. Good to see you. How many people wake up every day and go to work for one of those companies? What's your guess? How many? 50? You're a little high. 10's close. Who said 7? Come on up. 8,000. 8,000 men and women every day in the Mid-Columbia wake up and go to work for a manufacturer in the state and Tri-Cities. So why is this so important? Because we recognize as we went through this pandemic that much of what we needed, think about PPE, we had to rely on security for those things, not from Washington State, not from the US, but from somewhere else around the world. So we've got an opportunity to do something really, really big around manufacturing. Why? For a whole bunch of different reasons. It's a great pathway for a great career. It pays really well. Look what the average wage of manufacturing is in the state, $81,000 a year. It's a great wage here. So we have a goal in this state. And Representative Banky, stand up. You get all the credit on this. Representative Banky led. So give him a round of applause before I tell you all the good stuff here. So he calls us early on in session and says, I've got an idea to say, how do we make a commitment and a goal to double the number of manufacturing jobs in the state of Washington, double the number of women-owned and led manufacturing companies, and double the number of minority-owned manufacturing companies in the state of Washington. And we're going to look at competitiveness. We're going to look at workforce. We're going to have this really important goal, and we're going to go out and do it. And Matt, thank you for getting that passed. Let's give you a round of applause. It's a really big deal. So how do we grow more lamps and cranes? How do we grow more tie lights? How do we grow more companies right here in the Mid-Columbia and in the state of Washington? That's what this goal of this bill is intended to do. And by the way, Representative Banky, happy wedding anniversary today. And he's here with all of us on his wedding anniversary. So I'd buy flowers. Last but not least, as we think of how are we doing on time? Are we doing good on time? Good, okay. Last but not least is a portal that we launched. If we think about rebuilding the economy, don't you have to kind of know where you're at before you plan on where you're going? That only kind of makes sense. You do that in your business, right? You do a business model, say, where are we at? And if we want to grow by 10x, how do we do that? Well, we did that through the AWB Institute, which Mike Schwenk from here in the Tri-Cities chaired, which created Washington in the Making. And Washington in the Making has 33 indicators or vitals for every county in the state of Washington. And not only does it have those vitals, it has your ability to go in and compare how does one county look to another on things like unemployment rate, 8th grade graduation, median household value. By the way, the four vitals that are on here, here's 4 of the 33 for Benton and Franklin, were updated this week. So we see some trends early on in household values and personal household income. What do you think we've seen in the data? This data is from June of last year. This is the most recent data, just came out this week. What do you think we saw on, well, what do we think we saw on home values? It's up, right? It doesn't matter where you are in the state, they're up significantly. What do you think we saw on personal household income, either statewide or regionally? Modest across the state's fair, but in pockets, we saw 20+% increases. Why? Not recovery spending. That's a good one, but that's not it. Nope. Because people decided to move in the pandemic. And they picked up and left places like urban centers and said, because I can do my job remotely, and move to different places. So Grace Harbor, anybody know where Grace Harbor, raise your hand if you know where Grace Harbor is. Out on the coast, right? Great. Grace Harbor saw a 22% increase in household income. That's because people picked up and moved to Grace Harbor. That's not because the economy grew that fast. That's unsustainable growth. That almost matches something else I think of in Olympia, Representative Banky. That's because people said, I'm going to choose quality of place first. Where else do you think we saw big spikes? So Grace Harbor's one. Any other guesses? Kittitas? Think Suncadia and Ellensburg. How about Spokane? Big growth. So how many people would like to sell their home in today's environment but buy it at a much lower cost? Raise your hand. Yeah, almost everybody in the room. So if we look at the market today, and we take the number of homes for sale right now in Spokane, Tri-Cities, and Wenatchee, the number of homes that are on the market today, and add them up, they are less than what any one of those 3 markets would have in a normal, healthy economy. Think about that for a moment. We lost an employee, I don't think I've told you this. We lost an employee, Sarah, on our institute 2 weeks ago, who tried to buy 10 different homes and couldn't in federal way. The last one was for $500,000, and that was beyond where they were comfortable, and said, we'll go to $550, and it went for $600. And they've just said, you know what, we're going to be remote workers, we're leaving. It's a struggle. I think beyond finding skilled, trained workforce, our next challenge is going to be, can people afford to live where they work? Now, we're blessed here in the Tri-Cities. That is a different equation than it is in Central Puget Sound, although the prices are moving here, right? They're moving here. I remember when I moved here 20 years ago, the billboard outside of Trax said 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $99,000. I think we'd all do cartwheels to find that billboard today. But as we think about building a sustainable, enduring economy going forward, we need to have good data to do that. And this matches up so well with what something Lori has done, which is the My Tri 2030 effort. And so we're all thinking about how do we build up a stronger economy, a more durable economy, that it works for every Washingtonian and it works in every corner. We can't have an economy that's 4, 5, 6 regions doing really well and the rest of the state doing anywhere between okay and struggling. We got to have a more dynamic, more vibrant economy. We need to give our kids hope that there's a way to get educated in the communities they call home and can find a position in a lifelong career in where they live. So with that, no, I don't. I have more slides. Okay. They sent me with some more slides. Okay. This is the slides from the workforce portal. So Brooke, again, this is where Brooke gets credit. You can, again, this was a pilot. We didn't expect a whole bunch of people to jump into this. You can see on the left hand how many active student accounts, whether they be high school students, college students, and employers are in the workforce portal right now. You can see the number of postings that are in there and the number of positions available right now if you go to Washington Workforce Portal. The other piece that we're going to spend a lot of time doing this summer, and we're back here in the Tri-Cities, I believe, on July 8th, is doing a listening session around all things transportation. So last legislative session, a number of bills passed, the low carbon fuel standard bill, the cap and trade bill, and the transport bill. They were all kind of connected together. And so we are going to go out and figure out what Washingtonians think about transportation. Is now the time to do something? Is it no, we're fatigued on taxes and now is not the time to do something? We know the federal government is contemplating anywhere from a $1 trillion to a multi-trillion dollar federal infrastructure bill as well. So we'll be out and around, and this is your chance to help give us some input on what we should do on transportation across the state of Washington. That was it. So any questions for me before I wrap up and get off? Questions? Great. 15 months later, I hope I did okay. It was great to see people. So thank you.
Thank you, Kris. You're pulling Starbucks cards out like a magic trick up here. Yeah. Hey, so speaking of anniversaries, when's your anniversary? I think you should get flowers and some wine. Yeah, that was a great presentation, right? So thank you to Kris, and a special thank you to your team, Kris, the Association of Washington Business, for the important work that you do, not only for the Tri-Cities, but also in our state of Washington. So thank you very much. So, gosh, we got some prizes we want to give away. They're not Starbucks cards, but I see some wine over here. Anybody want to win some wine? I don't know if you really want to win wine. Would anyone like to win some wine? Yes. All right. So unfortunately, I'm not the one doing the drawing though, but Logan LaPierre, hand for Logan, please.
All right. We have a few items to give away. Our first one is from Veolia. It's going to be a bundle with a full box of golf balls and a couple other goodies in there as well. And that is going to go to Candy Bowlesby of Hapo. All right, our next one is going to be, it looks like a bottle of rosé. Is it sachet rosé? I'll just take that right now. And that is going to go to Brad Sappenfield of Spotted Fox. All right, and our last bottle of wine is going to go to Nikki Torres of WGU.
Thank you, Logan. Congratulations. Yeah, enjoy that. Veolia, thank you so much for sponsoring today's luncheon. Kris, thanks for that fabulous presentation. Today's networking partner, we'd like to thank them, Benton PUD. Check out their table near the exit doors to get information on their new COVID-19 customer assistance program. And of course, thank you to the fantastic staff at the Chamber. Another round of applause for these folks. Speaking of pivoting, they mastered the online luncheons or the online programs, and then they're here just creating a fabulous space for us today. So thank you to the staff of the Chamber. And then thank you so much to the Red Lion Hotel and Conference Center, Pasco, for hosting us today. Thank you to you for a lot of you, this being your first luncheon in a ballroom since the stay-at-home order. So I'm excited for you. And our next luncheon is the annual congressional update. That's with Congressman Dan Newhouse. Representative Newhouse will deliver updates from Washington, D.C., as well as his perspective on key issues impacting the Tri-Cities and impacting us and business here in the Tri-Cities. The Congressional Update Luncheon will be held on Wednesday, August 4th, and it's going to be right here at the Pasco Red Lion. So go ahead and mark your calendars for that. Please make sure you register. You can register at tricityregionalchamber.com. So again, thank you so much. You guys look so good. Thanks for getting dressed up today. This is wonderful, isn't it? I know. I actually walked out of the house in my flip-flops. Had to go back in and put on some real shoes. So again, thank you sincerely from me and from the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce. And please go out and enjoy this amazingly beautiful day in the Tri-Cities. Thank you.